Life is not shaped in giant leaps, but in the small steps we take each day. The truth is, every choice you make is like casting a vote. And you're not voting for a political candidate. You're voting for the person you're becoming. Every decision, no matter how small, is shaping the story of your life. Think about it. When you decide to get up early instead of sleeping in, that's not just a morning decision. That's a vote for the disciplined version of yourself. When you decide to spend an hour reading instead of scrolling endlessly on your phone, that's not just a way to pass the time. That's a vote for the wiser version of yourself. When you decide to save instead of spend, to listen instead of argue, to work instead of procrastinate, you are voting for a future self that will be stronger, smarter, and more capable. The thing about life is that it counts the votes quietly. One piece of cake won't ruin your health, but if you cast that vote often enough, it begins to show. One day of skipping the gym doesn't matter, but if you cast that vote consistently, your body tells the story. One day of neglecting personal growth won't set you back much, but if you keep doing it, the years will. Most people underestimate the power of small choices. They look for big breakthroughs, dramatic changes, grand opportunities. But life doesn't usually hand out jackpots. Life hands out daily ballots, and the person who casts them with intention day after day builds the life they want. Now, here's the key. You don't become the person you want overnight. You become them over time, slowly, quietly, steadily, by the votes you cast every single day. The real question is not, what do I want someday, but who am I voting for today? Because today is where your future is decided. And here's something powerful. You are never stuck with the votes you cast in the past. Maybe yesterday you voted for laziness, for excuses, for bad habits. That's fine. The ballot box is open again today. You can change a direction with one choice. You can start building a new self with one decision. The past is the past, but the future is wide open, and you write it one vote at a time. So the next time you're faced with a decision, big or small, pause for a moment and ask yourself, which self am I voting for right now? The careless one or the disciplined one? The distracted one or the focused one? The average one or the extraordinary one? Because in the end, your life becomes a reflection of the votes you cast, not all at once, but over time. And the person you are becoming is nothing more than the result of those choices, stacked, repeated, and compounded. So choose wisely, because every choice is a vote for who you're becoming. Every choice we make carries with it a quiet, but undeniable influence on our lives. We often overlook how the smallest actions, decisions, and responses shape the person we are becoming. When you think about it, life doesn't suddenly change in dramatic bursts. It shifts, evolves, and transforms in the steady rhythm of daily decisions. Every morning when you wake up, you are standing before a ballot box. Each decision you make is a subtle vote, and those votes determine the type of person you are building, one step at a time. Consider how often we brush off small decisions because they feel insignificant. You might think, it's just one more hour of television, what does it matter? Or skipping the workout today won't hurt, I'll start tomorrow. But those are not just idle choices. They are ballots cast in favor of the person who values comfort over discipline, convenience over growth. The truth is, each of those seemingly harmless decisions begins to accumulate. They stack up quietly, almost invisibly, until one day you look in the mirror and realize the person you have become is not the person you dreamed of being. Every bite of food, every word you speak, every dollar you spend, every moment you invest or waste, all of these are votes. They may not seem powerful individually, but collectively they determine your trajectory. Think about a ship at sea. If the captain shifts course by even a single degree, it won't look like much in the first mile. But sail that course long enough, and the ship could end up hundreds of miles away from where it was originally headed. That is the power of small, subtle choices. Every time you cast a vote for patience, for discipline, for learning, you shift the direction of your life ever so slightly, and that shift, compounded over time, creates a destiny. It is easy to underestimate the power of the small ballot. People tend to think that only big, dramatic decisions shape their future, like choosing a career, starting a business, getting married, or moving to another country. Of course, those choices carry weight, but here's the secret. It's not the monumental decisions that define you nearly as much as the ordinary ones. If you look at the people who achieve extraordinary success, it is not usually because they made one magical, life-changing decision. It's because they consistently cast small votes every day in the direction of discipline, learning, persistence, and growth. Imagine for a moment that every time you choose to read 10 pages of a book, you are voting for the wiser version of yourself. Every time you choose to make a healthy meal, you are voting for the stronger version of yourself. Every time you choose to be honest when it would be easier to deceive, you are voting for the character-driven version of yourself. These votes, repeated daily, are what eventually create the person you become known as, the reputation you carry, the strength you possess, the opportunities that open for you. Life is always counting the ballots. Now, there's a reason many people don't take this truth seriously. It's because the results of a single choice are rarely visible right away. If you eat a donut this morning, you don't instantly gain 10 pounds. If you skip the gym today, your muscles don't suddenly disappear. If you spend an hour scrolling through your phone, your mind doesn't instantly grow dull. Because the results are delayed, we trick ourselves into thinking the choice didn't matter. But in reality, what you are doing is building momentum that compounds in a direction, positive or negative. Every time you make that choice, you're reinforcing the habit, you're strengthening the pattern, you're telling yourself, this is the person I am, and eventually, the accumulated ballots produce visible results. The beauty of this principle is that it works both ways. You can just as easily cast votes for growth as you can for decline. You don't have to wait for a big breakthrough or a major opportunity. You can begin right now with the smallest of decisions, and those choices will start stacking in your favor. Read one page, take one step, save $1, speak one kind word. Each act is a ballot in favor of the person you want to become. Over time, the ballots pile up, and your life begins to reflect the direction you've chosen. Think of someone who is admired for their discipline, wisdom, or success. It's tempting to assume they became that way overnight, that perhaps they had a stroke of luck or one life-altering moment. But if you look closer, you'll see the truth. They simply cast better votes day after day, over and over. They didn't just read one book, they kept reading. They didn't just save one paycheck, they kept saving. They didn't just speak kindly once, they kept speaking kindly. Eventually, the weight of their accumulated choices created the person we admire. This is why you can never afford to dismiss the small choices of your day. They are not trivial, they are directional. They carry you closer to, or further from, the person you want to be. Every moment you spend is like a brick in the wall of your life. One brick may not seem like much, but brick upon brick, day after day, eventually builds a fortress, or a ruin. The design is up to you. Now imagine two different people. One decides each day to make small, seemingly insignificant votes in favor of distraction, laziness, and instant gratification. They don't notice the impact at first, but year after year those ballots pile up, and the result is a life marked by missed opportunities, poor health, and regret. The other person, in the same time frame, casts small, seemingly insignificant votes for discipline, growth, and patience. They don't notice the impact at first either. But year after year, those ballots pile up, and the result is a life marked by health, strength, wisdom, and opportunity. Both lives are the result of the same principle, only applied differently. This is why self-awareness is so critical. You have to start recognizing your choices not as isolated events, but as ballots in an ongoing election. You are voting every time you open your mouth, every time you spend your money, every time you use your time. Ask yourself, which self am I voting for right now? The careless self, or the disciplined self, the distracted self, or the focused self? The average self, or the extraordinary self? Because whether you realize it or not, the tally is being counted, and the person you are becoming is being shaped one vote at a time. Choices often feel small, almost invisible, but they carry with them a hidden weight. The power of a single decision rarely lies in the moment itself. It lies in the way it compounds over time. Just like money invested with interest, the habits we form through repeated choices grow quietly in the background, building strength, momentum, and influence until one day they become the defining forces of our lives. At first it feels like nothing is happening, but with enough repetition, those small decisions evolve into powerful habits, and those habits carve out the shape of our destiny. Think of brushing your teeth. It's such a simple act that it hardly feels important. Skipping it once doesn't seem to hurt, but if you neglected it for months or years, the consequences would become undeniable. The compound effect is always at work, either for you or against you. In the same way, choosing to save a few dollars, read a few pages, or walk a few steps may seem insignificant in the moment, but when compounded over time, these small actions change everything. The body you build, the mind you sharpen, the character you develop, all are the result of tiny, repeated votes that compound into an identity. The trouble is that most people get impatient. They want the harvest without planting the seeds. They want the body without the workouts, the wisdom without the reading, the wealth without the discipline of saving. But life does not work that way. Life honors the compound effect. You don't notice the benefit of eating a healthy meal once, but eat healthy for 5 years and your energy, your strength, your confidence, they all reflect those choices. You don't notice the benefit of practicing kindness one time, but practice it daily and suddenly you're surrounded by trust, goodwill, and strong relationships. The compound effect multiplies the small into the significant. It's like a drop of water falling on a stone. The first drop changes nothing. The 10th drop still seems irrelevant. But as thousands of drops fall, the stone itself is worn down, reshaped, transformed. That is the invisible power of persistence. The world around you and the world within you is always being reshaped by the consistent drip of your daily habits. One of the greatest illusions is that habits are neutral. They are not. Every habit is either an asset or a liability. Every time you repeat a choice, you're not just doing an action, you're reinforcing an identity. Habits vote for who you are becoming, but they also magnify themselves with repetition. A positive habit gains momentum just like a negative one does. Discipline grows stronger each time you practice it. Laziness grows stronger each time you indulge it. Courage grows with every act of bravery, just as fear grows with every surrender. Habits are self-reinforcing loops. The more you practice them, the more natural they become, until they stop feeling like choices and start feeling like who you are. This is why the compound effect is so powerful, because it works silently. You don't even notice it until one day you wake up and realize your life is completely shaped by what you've been practicing. Think about someone who has been jogging every morning for 5 years. To them, it doesn't feel like a massive effort anymore. It feels natural, automatic. Their body is stronger. Their health is better, their energy is higher, not because of one big decision, but because of thousands of repeated decisions. Now contrast that with someone who chose to skip exercise every day for 5 years. To them, the habit of skipping also feels natural, automatic. But the compound effect has been working in reverse. Their body is weaker, their health is compromised, their energy is lower, not because of one catastrophic choice, but because of thousands of repeated choices. The compound effect of habits is like gravity. It pulls you steadily in the direction of your dominant decisions. If your habits are aligned with growth, they will quietly and steadily lift you higher, almost without you noticing. But if your habits are aligned with decline, they will steadily drag you down, also without you noticing. That is why two people can start in the same place, with the same opportunities, and 10 years later live entirely different lives. One has been lifted by the momentum of good habits, while the other has been weighed down by the momentum of poor ones. The secret to harnessing the compound effect is consistency. Not perfection, but consistency. Missing one workout doesn't ruin your health. Overspending once doesn't destroy your finances. Speaking harshly once doesn't end a relationship. But the danger lies in what happens when you let the exception become the pattern. Habits are built not on occasional actions, but on repeated ones. It's not what you do once in a while that counts. It's what you do day after day that shapes your life. And the beauty of consistency is that it eventually works in your favor. In the beginning, forming a new habit feels like pushing a heavy rock uphill. It's hard, it's uncomfortable, and progress feels slow. But once momentum takes over, the same rock starts rolling downhill with ease, powered by the energy you've invested. This is why many people quit just before they reach the tipping point. They underestimate how close they are to the breakthrough that consistency brings. They forget that the compound effect often shows up late. But when it shows up big. Consider the story of the bamboo tree. You plant the seed, water it, nurture it, and for years nothing happens. No growth is visible. But underground, roots are spreading, preparing, building the foundation. Then suddenly, in a matter of weeks, the bamboo shoots up rapidly, growing feet at a time. Was the growth sudden? Not at all. It was the compound effect at work, unseen, building momentum until the results became visible. That's how habits work. The results are hidden for a long time, but when they appear dramatically. This is why you must treat every small choice as significant. Not because it will change your life instantly, but because it will change your trajectory. When you cast the same vote repeatedly, you strengthen that path until it becomes a habit, and once it becomes a habit, the compound effect does the rest. Suddenly, discipline is no longer a battle. It's simply who you are. Saving money is no longer a struggle. It's simply what you do. Learning is no longer a chore. It's simply a way of life. The most extraordinary results come from the most ordinary beginnings. Success is rarely about doing something dramatic. It's about doing something simple, consistently, until the compound effect makes it extraordinary. Read a little every day, and years later you're a person of wisdom. Exercise a little every day, and years later you're a person of strength. Practice gratitude every day, and years later you're a person of joy. Small beginnings, multiplied by time, create great endings. The truth is, your life right now is a reflection of the compound effect of your past habits, the way you feel, the skills you have, the opportunities before you. They are the fruit of choices repeated again and again. And your future will be nothing more than the reflection of the compound effect of the choices you make today. You don't have to change everything overnight. You just have to begin casting better votes consistently until the compound effect begins to tilt in your favor. No matter how far someone has gone down the wrong path, life always presents the gift of choice. This is one of the most liberating truths we can hold on to. No matter how many wrong votes you have cast in the past, today is a new chance to reimagine, to redirect, to start again. Too many people live trapped by the weight of yesterday, believing that their mistakes, their poor decisions, their missed opportunities have already sealed their future. But that is not how life works. The past has influence, yes, but it does not have to be a prison. The moment you understand that today is another ballot, another chance to cast a vote in a new direction, the chains of regret begin to loosen. Think about how many people live their lives stuck in guilt or disappointment. They look at the bad habits they've built, the opportunities they've wasted, the relationships they've damaged, and they convince themselves that it's too late to turn around. They think the damage is permanent. But the truth is, as long as you are breathing, you can choose again. You can cast a new vote. You can decide that the old version of yourself is not the only version that exists. That is the power of reimagining. Consider the story of someone who lived most of their life in poor health because of bad eating habits and lack of discipline. For years they cast their votes for the weaker self. And then one day they decided to change. They started small walking, making better food choices, drinking more water. Slowly but surely, the votes for health began to outnumber the votes for neglect. Over time, their body transformed, their energy soared, and their outlook on life improved. Did the past disappear? No. But it no longer defined the future. The past became a lesson, not a life sentence. The same is true with finances. Perhaps for years someone lived in debt, overspending, neglecting discipline, and living paycheck to paycheck. Those votes stacked up and created financial stress. But the moment they decided to reimagine their habits and take a new direction, everything began to shift. They started saving, started budgeting, started investing. At first the progress seemed small, almost invisible. But as the new votes piled up, the compound effect began to work in their favor. Eventually, the weight of the new decisions outgrew the mistakes of the past. This is the great secret. Yesterday doesn't have to decide tomorrow. What matters most is not how many times you failed, but how many times you are willing to begin again. Every new choice is a chance to cast a new ballot. And the most inspiring truth is that the future doesn't ask you to erase your past, it simply asks you to start voting differently today. Some people get trapped in the idea that they must make drastic, sweeping changes all at once. But that pressure often keeps them paralyzed. You don't need to revolutionize your life in a single day. All you need to do is shift the direction by 1 degree and keep walking. The past may have pushed you far off course, but every step you take in the right direction brings you closer to the life you want to live. And if you keep voting for the stronger self day after day, eventually the trajectory of your life will look completely different. Reimagining your future requires forgiveness of yourself. Too often, people hold on to mistakes as proof that they are incapable. They look at past failures as evidence that success is out of reach. But mistakes are not proof of failure. They are proof of effort, proof of humanity, proof that you tried. The true danger is not in making mistakes. It is in letting mistakes convince you that you cannot try again. The moment you choose forgiveness, you release the burden of the past and open the door to new possibilities. Think about an artist painting a canvas. If they make a wrong stroke, they don't tear up the entire painting. They adapt, they adjust, they blend, they reimagine. Over time, the final picture still turns out beautiful, not because it was flawless from the start, but because every mistake was woven into a greater vision. Life is no different. You don't erase the past, you integrate it, you learn from it, you allow it to guide your next strokes. What makes this principle so powerful is that change doesn't depend on anyone else. You don't need permission from the world to start again. You don't need to wait for perfect conditions. You simply need to decide. One decision right now can begin to rewrite the story. That is the miracle of choice. Every day is a ballot. Every action is a vote. And the direction of your life can change the moment you decide to start casting votes for the person you want to become instead of the person you regret being. Even the greatest success stories are filled with wrong votes in the beginning. People we admire for their wisdom, their strength, their success. They didn't always live perfectly. They made mistakes, sometimes big ones. But they didn't stay stuck. They chose again. They reimagined who they could become, and they started casting new ballots. The difference between those who succeed and those who stay stuck is not perfection. It's persistence. It's the willingness to say, I voted the wrong way long enough, but today I choose differently. If you've ever planted a garden, you know that the soil doesn't care what seed you put into it. Plant weeds and weeds will grow. Plant flowers and flowers will grow. The soil doesn't argue, it doesn't discriminate, it simply returns what was planted. Life works the same way. The past may be filled with weeds, but you can start planting new seeds right now. With time, care, and persistence, the flowers will overtake the weeds, and the garden will reflect the new choices, not the old ones. There is something deeply empowering about realizing that the past is only as strong as the power you give it. Many people are haunted by mistakes, carrying them like heavy chains. But the truth is, those chains are unlocked. You are free to put them down at any moment. The only weight they carry is the weight you choose to keep holding. When you decide to reimagine, to cast new votes, you trade the chains for wings. The same energy that was once wasted on regret can now be invested in growth. The freedom to reimagine is a gift that belongs to everyone. It doesn't matter your age, your background, your circumstances. At any moment, you can change your trajectory. History is filled with people who turned their lives around after years of mistakes. The moment they chose a new direction, the moment they began to cast different votes, their lives took on new meaning, new strength, new possibilities. Every decision you make is more than just a choice of convenience. It is a crucible moment. A crucible is a vessel where intense heat refines, where impurities are burned away, and what emerges is stronger, purer, more resilient. In the same way, every moment of decision refines who you are. You are not just choosing between two options, you are choosing who you will strengthen and who you will weaken inside yourself. Each choice either fortifies your character or erodes it. Every time you choose discipline over excuse, you step into the fire and come out stronger. Every time you choose courage over fear, you forge yourself into someone bolder. Every time you choose persistence over giving up, you harden the steel of your will. People often underestimate the weight of ordinary decisions, thinking they are casual and unimportant. But character is not revealed in the grand moments of life. It is revealed in the small, repeated choices you make when no one is watching. Character is forged not on the stage, but in the quiet. It is formed when you decide to do the right thing even when the wrong thing would be easier. It is formed when you keep a promise even when no one else would know you broke it. It is formed when you push through difficulty instead of bowing to it. These are the crucible moments, and they happen every day. Think of a student studying late into the night. The decision to study or to procrastinate may not seem like a test of character, but it is. By choosing study, they strengthen the muscle of discipline. By choosing procrastination, they weaken it. Over time, these choices stack until discipline becomes natural to one person and excuses become natural to another. The difference in outcomes is not about talent or intelligence, but about the character forged through daily decisions. Life constantly presents opportunities to step into the crucible. When you feel tired but choose to get up and fulfill your responsibilities, that is a crucible moment. When someone offends you and you choose patience over anger, that is a crucible moment. When you are tempted to quit and you choose perseverance, that is a crucible moment. Every time you pass through the heat of these decisions, you are shaping the person you are becoming. You are proving to yourself that you can be trusted with greater challenges because you are faithful in the smaller ones. There is no shortcut to building character. It cannot be bought, borrowed, or inherited. It can only be earned through repeated testing. And the testing comes disguised as choices. Do you rise or do you relax? Do you work or do you waste? Do you speak truth or do you deceive? Do you act with integrity or with compromise? These are not casual moments. They are the forge. They are the fire where your identity is solidified. The reason character matters so much is that it becomes the invisible foundation of everything else. Success without character crumbles. Wealth without character destroys. Influence without character corrupts. But when character is strong, it can carry the weight of success, the responsibility of wealth, the privilege of influence. And that strength comes only by passing through the fire of choices day after day. Imagine two people standing at the same crossroads. One consistently chooses excuses, blaming circumstances, and avoiding responsibility. Over time, they weaken their resolve, and when life tests them with bigger challenges, they collapse under the weight. The other consistently chooses responsibility, doing what must be done even when it is difficult. Over time, their resolve strengthens, and when life tests them with bigger challenges, they stand firm. What separated them was not one dramatic moment, but thousands of crucible choices that forged two very different characters. Every time you encounter a moment of difficulty, remember that it is not just an inconvenience, it is an opportunity. The struggle is the fire, the decision is the forge, and the outcome is the person you become. If you avoid the fire, you avoid the refinement. If you embrace the fire, you emerge stronger. Growth and comfort cannot coexist. You cannot build character in the easy places. It only comes from the heat of decision. Some people spend their lives avoiding the crucible, choosing the easy way every time. But comfort never strengthens you. Comfort never stretches you. Comfort never forges character. Only challenge does, only sacrifice does, only persistence does. Every time you refuse to give in to comfort, you are strengthening your resolve. You are casting a vote for the version of yourself who can be trusted with greater things. Consider someone building muscle in the gym. The moment of struggle, the point of resistance, is where the growth happens. If you drop the weight too soon, you rob yourself of the strength that comes only through the tension. In the same way, the decisions that feel hardest are the very ones that build the most strength of character. Each time you endure, you fortify yourself. Each time you resist temptation, you harden your will. Each time you do what is right instead of what is easy, you strengthen the foundation of who you are. The greatest leaders, thinkers, and achievers were not people of comfort, they were people of character. They became who they were because they faced the crucible and refused to back down. History remembers them not because life was easy for them, but because in the fire of choice, they became strong enough to handle great responsibility. You cannot separate their impact from their character. And you cannot separate their character from the daily decisions that forged it. Every moment you face temptation, distraction, or difficulty, you are standing in a crucible. The fire is hot, the choice is real, and the outcome is permanent. You may think it is just a small moment, but it is not. It is a test. It is a refining. And the person you are becoming is shaped in that exact moment. You will either come out stronger or weaker. There is no neutral. Choices accumulate, and character compounds. Think about how trust is built. It is not built by one dramatic action. It is built by hundreds of small decisions where you prove yourself faithful. Show up when you said you would, keep your word, follow through. Each of those is a crucible moment. When you succeed in them, you become someone who can be trusted. When you fail in them, you weaken your credibility. The fire of character does not wait for big stages. It is burning in the small, quiet corners of your life. Life is not a static event. It is a journey that unfolds day by day, choice by choice. Who you are right now is not a finished product, it is a work in progress. And the direction of that progress is determined by the decisions you make in the present. Every action, every thought, every word you speak is adding a brushstroke to the portrait of your life. Each day you are voting, shaping, and constructing the person you are becoming, and with each vote the portrait grows clearer. The question is not whether you are becoming someone, you always are. The question is, who are you becoming? There is a temptation to believe that identity is fixed, that you are who you are and that's the end of the story. But that's not how life works. Identity is fluid. It shifts, it evolves, it transforms with each decision. The journey of becoming is not about chance, it is about direction. And direction matters far more than speed. You can move quickly in the wrong direction and end up further away from your purpose, or you can move steadily, even slowly, in the right direction and eventually arrive at a destination worth reaching. Every choice along the way adds color to the canvas. Choose patience in the face of frustration, and you are painting yourself into someone steady and wise. Choose discipline when laziness calls, and you are adding the shade of strength to your picture. Choose kindness when anger tempts you, and you are weaving gentleness into your character. These colors compound and create a portrait that others can see and that you yourself will one day have to live with. Who you become is not an accident. It is a masterpiece created through thousands of deliberate or careless brushstrokes. Think about how a single day might unfold. You wake up with the option to rise early or to hit the snooze button. That is not just about getting a little more sleep. It is a vote in the direction of discipline or procrastination. Later, you have the option to eat something nourishing or to grab whatever is convenient. That is not just about food. It is a vote in the direction of health or neglect. Throughout the day, you face choices in how you speak, how you listen, how you work, how you handle setbacks. Each one is small, almost invisible, but together they form the story of your life. The journey of becoming is not marked by a single choice, but by the accumulation of many. When people look back on their lives, they often see clear turning points and dramatic moments. But those moments were always built on the foundation of countless small choices made beforehand. A student graduates with honors not because of one exam, but because of years of voting for study over distraction. An athlete wins a championship not because of one game, but because of years of training when no one was watching. A leader earns respect not because of one speech, but because of years of decisions that built credibility. The grand outcomes we admire are simply the visible fruits of an invisible journey of becoming. This is why it is so important to pause and ask yourself, what kind of journey am I on? What votes am I casting today that will show up in my life tomorrow? Because the truth is, whether or not you are intentional, you are still becoming something. If you do not take control of the direction, the drift of life will take control for you. And drifting rarely leads to places worth being. The most powerful thing about the journey of becoming is that it never ends. No matter where you are, you can choose to keep growing, keep changing, keep evolving. Some people stop becoming because they think they have arrived. They think their education is finished, their character is complete, their growth is over. But the moment you stop becoming, you start declining. Life does not stand still. You are either casting votes for growth or for decline, for becoming more or becoming less. The journey continues as long as you are alive, and the opportunity to add new colors to your portrait is always available. Imagine two travelers walking side by side. One keeps choosing the easy path, the one that demands little effort, the one that offers quick comfort. The other chooses the path that challenges them, stretches them, strengthens them. At first, the difference is small, barely noticeable. But after years, their paths diverge so widely that they end up in entirely different destinations. One has grown weaker, more complacent, less fulfilled. The other has grown stronger, more capable, more alive. That is the power of direction. It is not where you are today that matters most. It is where your choices are taking you. The journey of becoming is deeply personal. No one else can make the choices for you. Others can influence, encourage, or warn, but at the end of the day, you are the one casting the votes. You are the one adding the brushstrokes. You are the one steering the ship. That is both a responsibility and a gift. It means you cannot blame others for the person you are becoming, but it also means you have the freedom to change the direction at any time. The pen is in your hand, the paint is on your brush, the ballot is in your grasp. And what makes this journey beautiful is that it does not require perfection. You will make mistakes, you will cast wrong votes. You will sometimes add colors to your portrait that you later regret. That is part of the process. But even then, you can choose again. You can redirect, repaint, recast your vote. Over time, if you are consistent, the weight of your right decisions will outnumber the wrong ones, and the portrait will still emerge as something beautiful. It is not about never failing. It is about never giving up on the process of becoming. The secret is to fall in love with the process itself. To understand that every day holds the chance to add another vote, another stroke, another step in the right direction. Success is not a destination, it is a journey of becoming. Character is not a single achievement, it is the result of consistent refining. Happiness is not found in a single moment, it is the fruit of daily votes for gratitude, for kindness, for growth. When you understand this, you stop waiting for one big event to change your life and start appreciating the small choices that shape your life every day.